The series opens in 1996 when Hal Jordan reveals himself to the world as the Green Lantern during a national television broadcast. A young John Stewart watches the news with his brother as they see Hal become a symbol of hope and protection. Their father, John Stewart Sr., arrives and asks his son what the hero's real name is. When John answers, Hal something, his father sends him outside and tests his courage. He places an apple on John's head and asks whether he is afraid. When John says no, his father fires a shot and knocks the apple away, beginning his harsh lessons about fear and control. 20 years later, in 2016, Hal picks up John Stewart, who is training to become a lantern. Hal arrives late and hungover after disappearing for 2 weeks. When John remains silent, Hal tries to get a reaction from him, explaining that he had been on Pharaon 4, a planet close to civil war, where he helped create peace through a mix of diplomacy and fighting. John questions why, after 2 months of training, he still has not used a lantern ring. Hal tells him that the ring chooses the lantern, not the other way around. He then removes his ring and places it on the dashboard, telling John he will meet him at a taco stand a few miles away. Before leaving, Hal sends the car rolling toward a dangerous cliff, forcing John to grab the ring and put it on. John immediately calls his father and says Hal tried to kill him. John Sr. explains that Hal is testing him and tells him to stay focused because earning the lantern position is what he wants. Moments later, Hal suddenly appears and asks if John is dead. John is angry, but Hal claims he was only testing him. However, Hal is not actually the real Hal Jordan. He explains that he is a backup copy of Hal's consciousness created through the lantern's technology. Lanterns are required to upload their memories regularly, but this version of Hal has not been updated for 10 years. He was created to deliver a message to himself and needs to find the real Hal. John explains that the real Hal is 3 miles away eating tacos. Hal tells John to fly them there, revealing that he expects John to already know how. At the taco stand, Hal asks John how he would save himself from a dangerous situation. John jokingly says bubble wrap, and Hal calls him a genius. Before leaving, Hal learns that his message says there is hail coming in Rushville, Nebraska. He immediately flies there, with John following behind. In Rushville, John arrives at what appears to be a crime scene after a deadly incident at a football game. He is initially denied access until he says he is with Hal Jordan. On the field, Hal explains that he believes the victims were not human. Sheriff Carrie Kane disagrees, saying the case is under her jurisdiction and there is no evidence of extraterrestrial involvement. Hal insists his instincts are usually correct. John examines the scene and notices that the victims were wearing visitor team jerseys after a chaotic football celebration turned violent. He questions why Hal believes aliens are involved, but Hal says his years as a lantern have taught him to recognize signs others cannot see. He reveals that one survivor in a short-sleeved shirt has been watching them. Hal refuses to inform the sheriff, believing the man could reveal himself if approached incorrectly. John disagrees and decides to respect Carrie's authority. When John tells Carrie about the suspect, she reveals she was already aware of him and was trying to prevent him from panicking. The suspect runs, forcing John and Carrie to chase him. John catches him and knocks him unconscious before Carrie arrests him. Later, Hal and John visit a bar where John asks how Hal received his ring. Hal explains that he never earned it through a formal selection process. He was a test pilot when a strange green energy brought him to Nebraska. There, he encountered an alien lantern who gave him the ring. The ring allowed him to understand the alien's language, and Hal realized that a human receiving a lantern ring was considered an unusual event. Hal believes the alien crash that brought him the ring was not an accident. He explains that whenever he senses trouble coming, he keeps watch. When the same song that played during his first encounter starts playing in the bar, one of the customers becomes angry. John realizes Hal intentionally started a fight because he wanted to get arrested and question the suspect. While Hal fights the men, John meets a woman named Zoe Macon at the bar. They talk about his work, and the two later spend the night together. The next day, John finds Hal at the police station. Carrie had figured out his plan and locked him in a broom closet overnight. Hal is taken to court, where he explains that he only started the fight to question a possible alien suspect. The judge refuses to believe him until William Macon arrives to defend him. William enters a not guilty plea, and the judge sets bail at $200,000. William explains that the money comes with conditions, as his father wants Hal to have dinner with him. Hal and John arrive at the Macon Ranch, where they meet William Macon, a mysterious man with powerful connections. Hal notices the government-like security around the property and asks who William works for. William refuses to answer because of a non-disclosure agreement. William explains that he believes aliens are involved because two of his men were nearly killed in a mysterious encounter. He believes the suspect at the sheriff's station is part of an advanced alien team. Hal agrees to help because both sides want to protect Earth. The next morning, Hal and John question the suspect, Waylon Sanders. Waylon claims he is simply a truck driver who attended the football game. Hal tests him by asking questions about Earth culture and history. Waylon answers some basic questions but fails to provide details that a real human would know. Hal concludes that Waylon is an alien hiding among humans. Waylon admits that if Hal is correct, then he must have a greater purpose for staying hidden. He reveals that he has a biometric neutron device inside his skeleton that can be activated with a thought. If captured, he can destroy himself rather than reveal his mission. Hal attempts to stop him by creating a protective barrier with his ring, but Waylon questions how long Hal's power can last without a recharge. The alien begins reciting the Lantern Oath, which angers Hal. Hal grabs him and demands to know why he is on Earth. Waylon activates the device and reveals his purpose is vengeance. Hal quickly traps him inside a protective bubble, but the explosion still breaks through and knocks out John and Carrie. 10 years later, in 2026, John returns to the same football field in Nebraska and meets Carrie. Together, they discover Hal sitting frozen and injured on the bleachers. His lantern ring is missing, leaving them to wonder what happened to one of Earth's greatest protectors. Next, we see Hal Jordan needs to recharge his Green Lantern ring after the explosion in Rushville. In a motel parking lot, Hal connects his ring to the power battery and recites the Green Lantern Oath, though he does it quietly and without the confidence expected from a legendary hero. John Stewart watches as Hal continues to avoid embracing the image of the superhero the world once admired. Hal explains more about his past, including how he received his ring from the dying Lantern Abin Sur. He tells John that the experience began when he was suddenly taken from Earth and brought to Nebraska, where he encountered the alien Lantern who passed the ring to him. Although John is fascinated by the story, Hal treats his own origin like an embarrassing memory rather than a heroic moment. Meanwhile, Sheriff Carrie Kane tries to calm the people of Rushville as fear spreads after the alien-related events. Hal interrupts the town meeting and immediately begins provoking people with his usual attitude. Carrie warns him that she has very little patience left, but Hal jokes that he only needs a little more time. As the investigation continues, Carrie agrees to allow Hal to question William Macon, though she insists on supervising him. Hal and John visit Macon's compound, where William remains secretive about his operation and refuses to reveal who is funding him because of his non-disclosure agreement. Hal questions William about the alien threat and mocks his secrecy, asking if every cowboy has an NDA. Their conversation quickly becomes tense. William's guards remain unimpressed by Hal's lantern abilities, and when Hal pushes too far, one of the guards shoots him. Despite his injury and a weakened ring, Hal continues to act fearless and refuses to back down. John also faces danger when he investigates the situation on his own. While returning to Rushville, he is attacked by a group of men with unusual strength. They capture him and bring him to their leader, Anton. John prepares for a fight, but instead, Anton uses a strange device that forces information directly into his mind. John learns that his captors are aliens. They reveal that the creature hiding in Rushville is a manhunter, a dangerous shape-shifting being responsible for destroying their planet. They tell John that they have only 48 hours to find and kill the manhunter before they destroy the entire town to prevent it from escaping. During his captivity, John's connection with the lantern power begins to show unusual signs. When Hal attempts to teach him how to fly, John struggles to take off, but accidentally creates a small green bird construct using his ring. The bird follows him and even attacks his captors when they threaten him. However, John eventually dismisses the construct, frustrating Hal. John returns to Rushville and shares what he learned with Hal. He explains that the aliens mentioned a manhunter and claim the Guardians of the Universe were responsible for hiding it on Earth through Abin Sur. Hal is immediately disturbed by this information because he cannot believe the Guardians would be involved. Hal questions John about why he told him everything, despite the aliens ordering him not to. John simply says that he reports to Hal, showing that despite his frustration, he still respects him as his superior. At Hal's mansion, John discovers more about Hal's life. He is tasked with feeding Earl, a strange alien plant creature living in Hal's greenhouse. The discovery reveals another side of Hal, showing that despite his rough exterior, he still cares deeply about the alien beings under his protection. John also finds Hal's old Green Lantern suits hidden away. Seeing the costumes brings back his excitement about becoming a lantern. He carefully examines them before retrieving Hal's power battery from a hidden dimension. However, Hal quickly ruins the heroic moment by complaining about how uncomfortable the suits are. John later encounters Zoe Macon again at a diner. Their conversation hints that Zoe knows more about William Macon and the strange events happening in Rushville than she admits. As Hal and John continue their investigation, Hal secretly decides to seek answers from someone connected to the Lantern Corps' history. Using his ring, he travels to a frozen prison planet where Sinestro, his former mentor and former ally, is imprisoned. This is the first time Hal appears fully confident as a Green Lantern. Wearing his suit and moving through space with purpose, he finally resembles the hero John has been waiting to see. However, when Hal enters Sinestro's cell, his confidence quickly fades. Sinestro ignores Hal's questions about the Manhunter and instead focuses on John Stewart. He suggests that the Manhunter is not the greatest danger Hal faces. According to Sinestro, John himself may be the real threat. Hal is left shaken by the revelation, realizing that the mystery surrounding John, the Manhunter, and the Guardians may be connected in ways he never expected.